The political establishment is in absolute meltdown, and what I'm about to reveal will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about how our democracy really works. While you've been distracted by celebrity gossip and social media drama, Anthony Albanese has been orchestrating the most ruthless political power play since Federation, and the opposition is crying foul so loudly you can probably hear them from Perth to Cairns. This isn't just politics as usual, this is war by 1,000 paper cuts, bureaucratic brutality that would make Machiavelli weep with pride. The Prime Minister's office has unleashed a staffing strategy so devastating, so precisely calculated to cripple opposition effectiveness, that veteran political observers are calling it the most vindictive display of administrative warfare in modern Australian history. But here's the explosive part that mainstream media doesn't want you to know: this isn't just about cutting jobs or saving money, this is about systematically dismantling the opposition's ability to hold the government accountable. We're talking about a deliberate, coordinated effort to ensure that Labor's political opponents can't effectively scrutinize legislation, can't properly research policy alternatives, and can't mount the kind of organized resistance that democracy requires. The numbers alone will make your blood boil. 20 personal staff positions eliminated from coalition offices. That's not trimming fat, that's amputating limbs. 16 senior advisor roles completely wiped out, leaving opposition MPs trying to navigate complex policy issues with skeleton crews that would struggle to organize a barbecue, let alone analyze billion-dollar budget measures. And the timing? Oh, the timing is the most diabolical part of this entire operation. Albanese waited 7 weeks after the election, 7 weeks, to drop this bureaucratic bomb. 7 weeks of letting the opposition settle in, start planning their strategies, begin building their policy teams, only to pull the rug out from under them with the kind of precision that would make a Swiss watchmaker jealous. This delay wasn't incompetence or slow decision-making, this was calculated psychological warfare. Think about it: you give your opponents just enough time to get comfortable, to start believing they can effectively hold you accountable, then you systematically strip away their capacity to do exactly that. It's like inviting someone to a chess match, then stealing half their pieces while they are not looking. The opposition is screaming vindictive from every platform they can find, and honestly, can you blame them? When you're already reeling from an electoral defeat that left you wondering if voters even remember why they used to like you, the last thing you need is the new government kicking you while you're down with administrative precision strikes. But here's where this story gets even more sinister, and this is the part that should terrify every Australian who believes in democratic accountability. This isn't just about punishing political opponents, it's about creating a structural advantage that could persist for years. When you get the opposition's research capacity, their policy development capabilities, their ability to properly scrutinize government decisions, you're not just winning today's battles, you're rigging tomorrow's wars. Parliamentary sources are whispering about conversations where Labour strategists openly discuss the long-term benefits of keeping opposition staff numbers as low as possible. We're talking about deliberate, strategic decisions to maintain what they call operational advantages over their political rivals. This isn't governing, this is political sabotage disguised as budget management. The human cost of these cuts is absolutely devastating for the people affected, but the democratic cost is even worse. These aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet, these are the people who research legislation, who fact-check government claims, who prepare the detailed policy alternatives that give voters real choices. When you eliminate these positions, you're not just firing staff, you're undermining democracy itself. And let's talk about the sheer hypocrisy that's driving this entire operation. During their time in opposition, Labour constantly complained about being under-resourced, about not having adequate staff support to properly scrutinise coalition policies. They knew exactly how crucial these positions were for effective opposition work, which makes their current cuts even more cynical and calculated. The coalition's response has been predictably outraged, but what's really telling is how they are scrambling to reorganize their operations around these massive staff reductions. Senior opposition figures are reportedly working longer hours, handling multiple portfolios, trying to maintain oversight responsibilities with dramatically reduced support. It's like asking a surgeon to perform operations while blindfolded and using kitchen utensils. But the most disturbing aspect of this entire saga is how it reveals the true nature of modern political warfare. This isn't about competing visions for Australia's future, it's about using administrative power to systematically disadvantage your opponents. It's governance by bureaucratic strangulation, and it sets a precedent that should terrify anyone who values competitive democracy. Parliamentary insiders are reporting that the atmosphere in opposition offices has become increasingly desperate as staff try to cover responsibilities that previously required much larger teams. Policy research that once took days now takes weeks. Detailed analysis of government legislation has been reduced to basic summaries, and the kind of thorough opposition work that keeps governments honest has been severely compromised. The timing of these cuts, coming just as Parliament prepares 4 major legislative sessions, appears deliberately designed to maximize disruption. Opposition MPs are facing their biggest workloads just as their support systems have been gutted, creating a perfect storm of political disadvantage that benefits only the government. What's particularly galling is how Albanese's team has tried to frame these cuts as responsible fiscal management, as if eliminating opposition staff positions represents some kind of principled stand against government waste. This isn't fiscal responsibility, it's political opportunism dressed up in budget rhetoric. The long-term implications of these staffing decisions extend far beyond the current parliamentary term. When you systematically reduce the opposition's capacity to develop alternative policies, to scrutinize government decisions, to hold ministers accountable, you're not just affecting today's politics, you're shaping the entire competitive landscape for years to come. Senior political observers are comparing these tactics to similar moves in other democracies where governing parties have used administrative powers to disadvantage opponents. The pattern is always the same: present bureaucratic decisions as routine management while systematically undermining democratic competition through resource strangulation. The most infuriating part is how these cuts have been implemented with bureaucratic precision that makes them difficult to challenge legally while maximizing their political impact. Every decision has been carefully calibrated to stay within technical guidelines while achieving maximum operational damage to opposition effectiveness. Opposition research capabilities, already stretched thin after electoral losses, have been further decimated by these staffing reductions. Complex policy analysis that requires specialized expertise is now being handled by overworked generalists, creating exactly the kind of knowledge gaps that benefit incumbent governments. The human drama playing out in Parliament House is heartbreaking. Experienced political staff who dedicated their careers to public service are being discarded like yesterday's newspapers, their institutional knowledge walking out the door along with their positions. These aren't just job cuts, they're the systematic elimination of democratic infrastructure. Parliamentary procedures that rely on effective opposition research and analysis are being compromised as remaining staff struggle to cover massive workloads with reduced resources. Committee work, policy development, legislative scrutiny, all the unglamorous but essential functions of democratic governance are suffering under these deliberate resource constraints. What emerges from this analysis is a picture of political warfare that goes far beyond traditional partisan competition. This is about using the levers of government power to create structural advantages that persist regardless of policy debates or electoral cycles. It's democracy by administrative attrition, and it represents a fundamental threat to competitive governance. The precedent being set here should alarm every Australian who values democratic accountability, regardless of party affiliation. Today's opposition could be tomorrow's government, and the weapons being deployed in this bureaucratic war could just as easily be turned against any political party that finds itself on the wrong side of electoral mathematics. As this story continues to unfold, the full extent of the damage to Australia's democratic institutions may not be apparent for years. But one thing is clear: when governments use administrative power to systematically disadvantage their opponents, democracy itself becomes the ultimate casualty in these political games. If you thought tonight's story was wild, trust me, what happens next will blow your mind. So don't stop now. Click on the video right here on your screen to continue the chaos, the drama, and the inside scoop only we deliver. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and join the Australian News CC family where the real stories come to life. See you in the next one.